Good evening, Madhu.
Hey Akash, good evening. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you and I can see you as well.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah, I think now I can see myself. I think there was some issue.
All right, no worries. Good to have you here, and thank you for taking your time out today to spare your thoughts for us and with us.
It's my pleasure.
So I'll
Can you
quickly,
confirm if you can hear me well?
yeah, I can hear you quite clear.
Okay, very, very.
Yeah. So I'll quickly go ahead and introduce you to our
Mm-hmm,
audience present over here. We have more people pooling in as we go along, and
mm-hmm.
then we can start with our discussion.
Sounds good to me. Yep.
Yeah, all right. So, good evening, one and all present over here. Today, we are honored with the presence of Mr. Madhu, who is a seasoned professional with extensive experience spanning over 2 decades in the field of analytics, in the field of information management and business development. So, from him, we can learn a lot in about these domains, about how to manage our careers, and about how to grow in these fields and towards the leadership positions. So currently, he is the global vice president of enterprise AI at Schneider Electric. And his career journey has been nothing short of fascinating. I'm personally quite intrigued to know about his advancements from his mouth itself. And I'm willing to learn from him, and I'm sure that all of you will be as well. Thank you, Madhu, for joining us today.
My pleasure, Akash. Again, I have no slides, nothing, so I think we're going to converse
Yeah.
as the
No,
call
nothing is
goes on. Yeah,
required. It's going to be a free-flowing conversation, and I think that's the best way to know about your experience as well. Uh,
sure.
Now, talking about that, uh, can you talk about like where it all started for you? What sparked the interest to get into this domain? What if there was any turning point event in your career that made all of this possible?
Sure, sure. Just before I get into that, Akash, wanted to know just a brief about the audience, like what kind of audience, so that I can tailor my answers, which would benefit them rather than just giving very generic answers.
Absolutely. So we have people from diverse backgrounds. We have people from bachelor's background, from BTech, from BSc, from MScs, to all the way to up to executive education. People
Okay.
with work experience as well. So predominant
Yeah.
tech crowd, people who are
Okay.
interested in analytics and data science and AI.
Perfect. Perfect. So these are people who are aspiring to get into either data science or technology space.
Yeah, exactly.
Clear, clear, clear. Sorry, now you can repeat your question.
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to know what major event, or might not be even any event, what pushed you into this field, into this domain? What sparked that interest? Was it always there, or uh, was it something that propelled you in this direction?
So when you say this field, you're referring to data science,
Yes.
AI space, if I'm not wrong, right? See, to be honest with you, when I was graduating, there was no field called data science or AI or ML. So I was maybe I would say probably lucky to get into a company called General Electric, which was my first company. And then in General Electric, Six Sigma was the way they would work, right? So Six Sigma is actually nothing but the statistical way of measuring and improving on a regular basis in any operations. So now that was kind of my starting point into what we today refer to as artificial intelligence. Yeah. So started with that basic statistics, and then of course for statistics we needed data. So kind of got into a bit more data engineering, and then came a bit of a business intelligence, then came a bit of a big data, and then eventually it all added up. And then when the term AI was introduced, I was already into it, doing multiple use cases, but we weren't calling it as artificial intelligence that time. So to answer your question precisely, I my journey of AI started with Six Sigma statistics, and then evolved into what we call as AI today. Of course, it was more of a very natural evolution for me because the technology also evolved in the last 20 years. If you look, uh, you know the the entire data landscape has evolved from, I remember in my GE days, we used to store data in Excel sheets. That's what we had. And then came the applications, and then came the ERPs, and then we had huge history of data. And then came what we used to call as appliances. In
Right.
fact, before that, we had enterprise data warehouses, and then data appliances, like NetEase, people remember. And then after that came, the entire HDFS, which is big data and stuff like that. Along with that also came the computation. Last 20 years, if you look at, I mean, if I remember, my desktop or laptop was probably much smaller than watch today, those days, right? And then the computation evolved, cloud came into picture. So I think back in maybe 2015 or 16, when actually I believe the massive data landscape and the computation kind of met with each other. Uh, Thanks to cloud, thanks to the ERPs which generated a lot of data, and also to the internet and stuff like that. So that all came together, which made it possible to the field what we call as data science today, or artificial intelligence. Yeah. So it's been a 20 years of journey, but yeah, it's very natural evolution, if you like.
Makes sense, makes complete sense. Now, if I was to ask, out of all of the different roles and responsibilities that you might have played in this illustrious career, out of all the things you might have done, what would be your favorite pick?
See, to be honest with you, irrespective of all the roles I have played in the 22 years, the gist of the role still remains same. End of the day, for me, it's always about helping my customer, whoever that could be. For example, when I was in GE, it was all internal customers, of course, my business partners. So it was always about helping them, right?
Right.
Whether using, statistics or web applications or any kind of technology, it was always helping them. So is when I joined Wipro Technologies, it was always about helping my customers. Yeah, and then when I started my own startup, again the same. So it's very difficult to pick any role just for the reason that end of the day the motto was same, all of them. But if I have to pick, then of course I will probably pick the current role because this is when I'm able to make a big impact thanks to the state of the technology today, and also the influence which I can make with my experience and exposure. So yeah, always I think the recent is probably the best because you have come a long way till here.
Can we safely say that you have recency bias?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yes. Uh, yeah, I don't know if it's bias. I don't know if everyone has it, but at least for me, it's a reality.
That's as grounded as it gets. Wonderful to hear that from you, Madhu. Uh, Now we talked about the opportunities, the things that you have liked, the recent being the obvious one. What are some challenges that you have faced along the way? I mean, over 2 decades, I'm sure you must have faced some bits of challenges, and how did you overcome them? Any significant ones that come to your mind?
I think the most challenging, of course, was the startup because that's when it's not comparable to any challenges you face in the corporate world, right? Because when you start on your own, of course, it can throw multiple challenges at you, from personal to financial to social, right?
Right.
For me, yes, I that was the most challenging period and also the most learning period as well because of course you learn when you are pushed maximum to your limits. Otherwise, again, I very difficult to call anything as a major challenge because every day you face challenges, right? And every day you come up with a solution. For me, apart from the startup, I think corporate world has been very, very safe place. Of course, you always face challenges. Not saying you will not face challenges, but that's part of the role, right? I mean, in any
Right.
any role you play, any employment you take, it does come with the challenge. Otherwise, of course, machines can do our job, right? So I not necessarily see the day-to-day operations as challenges. They are more of you're paid to do those jobs, right? But of course, uh, if I have to pick another one in the corporate world, uh, for a small stint at Wipro Technologies, I kind of took up a business development role when I was developing the practice, AI practice for UK and Europe. It was challenging because those days, of course, I mean, forget AI. Even the data and analytics was not a priority to any customers. Right? Those days, the priority was, of course, hey, can I, get my ERP up and running?
Hmm.
Can I get my basic reporting in place? Right? So those were the priorities, and you go to them saying, hey, I'm going to help you predict better. I'm going to help you forecast better. I'm going to optimize your problem. They were not, able to believe that's possible with the data they have, the IT landscape they had.
Right.
So yeah, that was a bit of a challenge selling multiple companies, especially in Europe, because Europe, again, this was my experience. I could be completely wrong. Was slightly lagging compared to the North America when it came to adoption of technologies. So it was a bit of a challenge. Again, that's part of any business development. I wouldn't call it as like, the challenge only I faced. Any business development person in the new technology will face this problem. So yeah, that's probably the other one. And then yeah, otherwise every day, even now, I face a lot of challenges in getting AI done, getting them built, getting them delivered to businesses and business using it. Every day is a new challenge. I don't know if that answers your question. If you're looking
That
for any
does.
specific answer, happy to help.
I was looking for one, you gave me multiple, and I'm happy to
Because
learn.
every day is a challenge. Again, this is a message I usually give to people. That is, if you're not facing challenges, that means you're not trying enough,
Right,
right?
yes. That means
So yeah,
boundaries are not pushed.
yeah, boundaries are not pushed, and also you're not kind of trying something which is not very uh, established already,
Yes.
right? So that's when you face challenges, and that's part of life, in my view.
Come back to one of the things you mentioned, startup. It was quite intriguing to me. So, having had that experience, the ups and the downs, would you recommend it to someone if they were to ask you that should I go for a startup? Would you recommend it to someone?
It's a tough question. It's a very personal question. Again, I would be hesitant to tell someone whether to do or not to do, because usually people have a tendency to get influenced by what others say.
Yeah.
Right? So my suggestion, if anybody wants to pursue a startup, is to invest time into it. Make sure it aligns with your own situation, current as well as future, financial, personal, economical, all of that, and then make a decision. Of course, be aware of the risk it comes with, right? Again, not everybody is going to be as lucky as all the successful founders in the world, right?
Yes.
It's a very small percentage actually who may succeed. Yeah. And also one need to really carefully look into what it takes to succeed in a startup, right? It's not just the hard work. It's not just the idea itself. I think there are like 99 other factors which probably the founder has no control on. So just to give you examples, see, there were many, many Facebooks before Facebook came. There were many, many large language models before OpenAI came, right? But what matters is, are you part of the ecosystem which would make you success? As simple as, are you with the right investors? Are you with the right network of people. And
Yeah.
these are things which you cannot control,
Yes.
right? It's not like, hey, I'm going to work 24 bar 7 and I'm going to make it happen. Of course, there is payoff for any artwork. I'm not denying that. But that's not the only factor that would determine success of a startup, right? So be
Yes.
ready to fail. I mean, that's my usual, suggestion to people who want to, start their own startup. One, do enough research, what it means, and be ready for the worst as well. If you're not ready for the worst, then don't take it up because, yeah, it can go either way. And again, it's a
Absolutely.
personal choice. You decide and you reap the benefits, uh, bad or good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
But
mean,
don't go because someone has succeeded, and don't get too inspired by people like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. It's not same.
that's
Don't only go by the quotations you read on LinkedIn and Facebook and WhatsApp, because the context could be completely different. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was going to say that's a unique but very grounded advice. Everyone says, quotes these famous personalities, pushes people, shows them the bright side of things. Not that this is not a bright side in and of itself, but yes, it is quite practical to show them both the sides.
See, in my view, I'll tell you, following someone because of the inspiration, for me, it's a recipe for disaster. I'll tell you why. Because so we all live in different times and different contexts. So if someone has to repeat what, let's say, Elon Musk did, with his initial startups, and now he ventured into different things. And again, today, I don't even know if that's the success, right? Again, it depends what is success for you, right? If a life of XYZ is the success, that may not be guaranteed to you if you follow the same personality, right? And again, if you look at all those personalities, they took like 30, 40 years before they could actually, say they are successful. In fact, yeah, if you read about, these famous personalities, even for example, Steve Jobs, he has failed in numerous times, that he was thrown out of his own company. Uh, his life wasn't as glorified as we see. Yeah. So this is what I always say, don't only look at the cover of the book, go inside, read. Is that really what you want? Then if the answer is yes, maybe take some best out of all of them. But at the end, it is you. You are unique. Everyone is unique. Your capabilities are different. Your ambitions are different. Your background, your perceptions, your exposure, experience, everything is unique. There is no common elements between two individuals. When that is the case, again, learn from others. I'm not saying don't learn from others, but at the same time, don't blindly just get inspired and blindly run, behind those, uh, you know, uh, the famous personalities. That may not lead anywhere. Is all I'm saying. Again, you may succeed, but I would always, uh, tell people to find their own individualities.
Of course, of course. Uh, And this makes me curious the way you are explaining things. You used a very particular term, investing time. People think of money as a resource, but time is the most important resource they can invest into anything, right? So where do you suggest the audience present over here, as you told they are aspiring data analyst or data scientist of tomorrow, where they should be investing their time to become not only better in their fields, but also with this changing job market, all of the uncertainties, that they can secure their career in a way.
So you're asking me, where should one invest their time to succeed in whatever they're going to do,
Yeah,
right? I mean, because it's a universal question, whether it's data science or any other technology, whether it's in job, whether it's in startup. See, again, just to a small diversion. People usually think that a startup and a job in a corporate are two different things. To be honest, I don't see it that. For me, there also you work 10 hours a day. Here also you work 10, 12 hours a day. There also you're trying to make a living. Here also you're trying to make a living. Here you have your manager. There you have your customer. Here somebody is paying you. There also somebody is paying you. To be honest, I don't see the difference. You can be an entrepreneur in a job. You can also be doing a job in a company or a startup, right? Anyway, so now coming back, where one should invest time. In fact, I keep saying this to many of my friends as well. I think that the best investment one can make is their own health and fitness. I'll tell you why. Because see, nowadays, we are living in a time where health is not guaranteed, right? Thanks to all the corruption, pollution that has happened. So, in fact, I was jokingly telling someone the other day, if you are healthy and if you cross, let's say, 45, then you will anyway organically progress very fast than others because don't have the energy that time. Because let's say by 40 or 45, if you're healthy, fit, you are probably going to fast track your career that time because many already don't have the energy required at that time, right? You kind of,
Yeah.
if you just stay put, focus on your health, focus on your energy, focus on your fitness. By the time you're 40, you're kind of ahead of everybody else, right? And the next 20 years, you really can grow because many people with similar exposure and experience may not have the necessary energy to deal with, the next roles and responsibilities. And I've seen this happening. So my suggestion again, it's a suggestion to myself as well. I keep telling myself that I need to invest more time into fitness, health, because that can really take you a really long, long way, irrespective of the field, irrespective of the technology or the job. And again, times change, job market change, opportunities come and go. Today it's AI, tomorrow something else. But how do you sustain all of this? Is only if you are healthy and energetic to deal with all of that. So that would be my first suggestion to focus on your health. Second, if I have to suggest something on the technology side, again, focus and spend more time on where is the business going, not the technology going. Technology is always an enabler and it always chases where the business problem is, right? So one should invest more time in understanding the real business problems that arise. Like for example, now we are at a situation where we're going to face massive, natural resource crisis, thanks
Right.
to, at scale manufacturing, at scale e-commerce, at scale commerce. Of course, we're going to run out of every possible natural resource from water all the way to the batteries and stuff like that, right? So now, can technology help, right? So this is where if you invest your time, you can make technology happen for them. And also see, one needs to look at technology as only a means to the goal, right? And it changes, just, if you draw parallels, when you are a teenager, you need a motorbike because you commute smaller distances and you want to go fast, you want to impress people. So then next stage of your life, you may need a hatchback. Then next stage of your life, you need a big family car and then multi-utility car. So technology keeps changing in the same fashion, right? And you need to adapt. And you have a long career of 20, 30 years. You will never be stuck with one technology, right? It's going to change. That's going to change. So what is probably constant is your ability to find those opportunities, find those technologies, and keep solving business problems so that you get paid for solving those problems.
Yes.
Right? So that's how I see technology. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to uh, add on to you that many aspiring students, especially, they ask, which programming language should I learn? What database should I learn? What should I learn, Python or R? But as you mentioned, it's not about the technology can change tomorrow or in a few years. It's about the problem solving attitude,
The
like
attitude, yeah,
yeah, willingness to learn, adapt, and always stay ahead of the curve as much as possible.
yeah. And then be willing to learn new things. For example, in fact, yesterday I was, trying to solve one problem on voice, and there is so much, open source available today. I could just go look into GitHub and, download some stuff and, do it on my own. So if you have that attitude to solve a problem, the skill naturally comes. You look at few things, and there is enough resource available in the net today. You don't even need to write anything. You go to ChatGPT, it will help you write your code. So this is where I think, yeah, don't focus too much on just like, a Python program or a program. Of course, I'm not saying they're not needed. They are needed, but that's not your full 30 years of career, right? It's only like, the first few months or maximum 2, 3 years. Beyond that, you're going to, start applying the technology to a business problem. Right? And technology, Python could become Python 2.0 in coming 2 years. Who knows, right? And you may not need to write any programming going forward. I mean, that is what AI is bringing now. It's going to automate all the, writing, content creation, programming, and all of that. Again, fundamentals would never change. It's always about a problem which you're going to solve, and how
Right. Yes.
passionate are you to solve that problem.
So that problem solving ability, do you believe is it something that or that mindset, is it something that is obtained by birth, that is imbibed into someone, or someone can acquire it? And if so, then how?
See, I don't have an answer to this, to be honest, because I have seen different type of people with different abilities to solve problems. In fact, I, as a kid, I was always curious about this question. It was a question which I always had in my mind as a kid, because I used to ask myself, if we are all equally capable, then why would we get different marks in the exams? Right? And then at some point, I convinced myself that everybody is capable, but the way we study could be different. Right? For example, someone studies 1 hour every day, someone studies, 10 hour every day. So that's probably the difference. I was of the opinion that everybody is made same by God. And then we just study differently, and that's what leads to the marks and the percentages and all of that. I don't have an answer, Akash, to be honest, but I think even if someone is not so blessed with a problem solving ability, the intention could be good enough, right? If you have that intention to solve a problem, maybe if someone can solve in 1 hour, you may take 5 hours. Doesn't matter. No big deal, right? 1 hour versus 5 hours. Maybe you will struggle a bit in the beginning days. Then your 5 hour becomes 1 hour once you gain that experience and exposure, right? I'm not sure if everybody is equally capable, but with good intention, one can get there. But
Right.
if you
Yep.
keep that as your intention, to solve a business problem. And for me, what also helps is I also want to always see my customers happy. That's kind of what drives me, right?
That's
For
the
me,
mantra.
mm, see, for me, a customer could also be my manager, right? Because end of the day, he's the one who is paying me my salary, and he's the one deciding my job. So your customers could be your manager, your internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, investors, shareholders. It could be anybody. Yeah, whoever is paying you. Yeah,
Right.
as long as you can please them with some contribution, value addition. For me, that's what motivates every day.
Perfect. There is an audience question, an interesting one from Shreyans. It's asking,
Mhm.
is it possible that artificial intelligence may dominate the human race in the future?
See, machines always have dominated human race in a given task. For example, I'm sure a bike can run faster than human beings. A crane can lift much heavier matters than human beings, right? A calculator can calculate much faster than human beings, right? Always machines have dominated human beings in a specific task. For example, same with AI, right? If you want AI to write program faster than human beings, it can. If you want AI to, let's say, create an image faster than human beings, it can. If you want it to write a, thesis paper of 5,000 words, it can do faster than human beings. Yeah. But if your question is, will there ever be a, what they call as AGI, like, generic intelligence bots, which would overtake human beings? I don't think so, because end of the day, these are all trained on data which are very specific. But again, I don't think humans want that, so it will never probably happen. And then also, I'll tell you what, sometimes technology can do a lot of things, but the question is, are we going to allow it to happen or not? As human beings, we may not allow. See, today, for example, entire Earth population can probably go to moon and live there. I'm just saying, technically it's possible.
Right.
But are we willing to do it? Probably no, because we don't see value in it. So similarly, we may not develop the artificial intelligence to an extent where it will start harming us or it will start disrupting our own economics. See, think of this way, right? If one day if AI does everything and no human beings has jobs, then who has intention or incentive to even develop them? Someone has to pay them, right?
Right.
See, the whole economics, the way it works is, I have a job, I get my pay, I pay to someone else to buy something. So this whole economics is demand and supply, right? Imagine a situation where 90% of the population has no job, then who is actually going to pay for the people who are going to invest into AI? Right? So there is a broader economics here, there is a broader invisible hand as they refer to, which may not allow such things to happen where a machine can take over everything.
Right. Yeah,
It's
that's
more
an
of an
interesting
economical
angle.
question. Yep.
That's an interesting angle. People talk about the technical side, but interesting way to
Yeah, it's a
view it.
willingness of people whether they will make it or not is also a question. See, today,
Great.
for example, you can put a nuclear bomb and destroy the world, but are people willing to do it?
Yeah.
Because
And
it will cost their own lives.
I also love the analogy you gave at the beginning that technology has always dominated humans. We haven't been worried about it
Correct.
because, yeah,
And that's what we want, right? We don't want it to be lesser than us. Then what's the point?
right.
See, if
Perfect.
bike goes like 5 kilometer an hour, I don't need it. I would rather be happy with the bicycle.
Yes, yes. No, that's one I'm going to steal probably and use in other places. Thank you for that, Madhu.
Welcome.
And where do you personally use ChatGPT, if at all, or such tools? Have you found anything that they have helped you with in your regular workflow or something eccentric, maybe?
See, personally, yeah, I have some utilities. I also use a lot. I mean, as a organization, we use it for different purposes. So, is your question more on like personal usage or in the organization?
Let's hear both.
Okay. See, organization, since we are a very large organization with close to 160, employees across the globe, so we use it for mainly knowledge management. So we have like tons of knowledge articles across the company. So we use it to, uh, you know, kind of make knowledge agnostic of people. Like, for example, if I want to know about a product, I don't need to be a product expert. I just use the chat GPT to know about our own products, right? And also we use them in the what we call as virtual assistant space. For example, hey, I need to book a travel. Can you help me? And it would go, help me do that. Or if I want to apply leave, it will go do it for me, right? So we use it in the space of assistant. We use it in the space also of knowledge management. management, yeah, broadly. And then there are a lot of other use cases which are coming. For example, now we use Gen AI to help our customers find our products in the website using a conversational search. So
Right.
traditionally, search has been very like, syntax based, but now they can go converse, like, they can say, hey, I want a push button. Can you recommend? And then it would say, hey, these are the different categories. These are the colors available. Would you, want any of this? And then so it basically, the customer can converse with the website before they decide what they want to buy. So similarly,
Kind of
there are
like
a
a
lot of,
salesman, like a
sorry,
virtual, kind of like a virtual salesperson who helps them
you can
show the.
call it. So you can call it as a virtual salesman. You can call it as a virtual agent. Yeah, you can use different names, but for us, we call it conversational search. So that's one utility. And then the list goes on because we're working on many such utilities applications. Personal side, I use it to sometimes uh, draft even mails. I use it to draft my uh, papers. I also write books. I use it to kind of enrich my book contents. Sometimes I also use it to just search for knowledge, write a program. So again, there's no specific kind of uh, one thing or another thing. I use it whenever I need some help. So let's probably put it that way. So it's quite useful. If I have to write a small program, it can help me. If I have to draft social media content, it's quite useful that way.
So, and that was quite a detailed answer. You showed both the corporate and the personal side of it. Some people can learn from it, take away from it. Madhu. Now, this is going to be slightly more anecdotal question again. Uh, Working over all of these years, how do you handle work-life balance at this point? Managing all of your roles and at the same time managing teams under you, managing stakeholders, customers, as you said. And then you have your family side of things, your own personal time as well. How do you manage the dynamic?
So in fact, I have written an article on this in LinkedIn. It's almost a 2 or 3 year old article. I think it was called Work-Life Balance or something. So if you go to my LinkedIn, find many of these articles, whether to start or not to start a startup. How do you balance work-life balance? So there are some articles around this. To answer your question, of course, I'm old enough now to kind of prioritize what matters at any given point in time. So I don't necessarily differentiate, work and personal life. Again, I'm not saying this is probably what everyone should do, but for me, it's all blurred. But at any point in time, I do what is the priority that point in time. For example, if today, if my priority is to take care of personal things, and that's what I do. Tomorrow, if I have to spend more time at work because that's what is the priority, I do that. Right. And also, uh, while you do it, you also learn to kind of, delegate some stuff. You learn to balance things. End of the day, I think it all boils down to how you prioritize. Right. So at any point in time, all of us will be tasked with 100 different things. Right. Whether you are a junior, whether you are a senior, whether you are middle career, all of us have multiple things to do. Yeah. And there is no way we can do all of it. Right. For example, and today you have work, you have personal life, you also have somewhere in betweens, like, investments, social media, managing your LinkedIn, all of that, which are like somewhere in betweens. So all of that is a question of what is priority to you as an individual. And then it could change, for example, 3 months in a row, personal life could be a priority because that point in time you need to prioritize. And then maybe, next 3 months could be different. Yeah. Again, there's no one answer. And also, I don't think anybody should have one answer to this because life is not never going to be a template or a routine, right? Things change. Your early career could be different from your, post marriage, post kid, and then you have a different set of priorities. And then as you get into more executive roles, your priorities could be different as well. There you have to really focus on your energy because uh, every day you make 20, 30 key decisions, and there are like thousands of people whose life depends on your decision, right? So when you are in such a high responsible roles, then you have to really focus on your energy levels. Right. For example, today, if I'm not feeling good, I would probably not go to work because if I go to work and if I'm not able to make right decisions, it could really impact many people. Right. Not in terms of jobs, in terms of, their sense of success, their sense of in productivity, efficiency, and all of that. Right. So I think the priorities change as grow uh, from one age to another age, from one role to another role. So again, to answer your question, how I balance my work-life balance is only by prioritization, and I don't see them separate. I see them as I've got 24 hours. Within that, I've got to sleep 8 hours. I'm left with, let's say, 14 hours or whatever, or 16 hours. So then these are the things I have to do, and that's my priority for that given day. So that's how I manage.
Quite objective, quite uh,
Yeah, quite mechanical, you can say, but
yeah.
you know, have to do it.
And it has worked for you, so I think that's not
Yeah, that's the only way I can imagine because otherwise, if you invest too much emotions into day-to-day activities, it could be very draining. Sometimes, in fact, you may have seen a lot of people who are very busy have even kind of made their life a very routine. For example, you may have seen Mark Zuckerberg wearing the same T-shirt every day because it takes energy to even decide what you're going to wear today,
yeah.
what you're going to eat today. So I think the more and more we make our life simple, I think you'll have more energy left for things you really want to do and things that matter to you. Right? Again, it's a
Yeah.
question of prioritization. What's your priority? Can you kind of automate, delegate, which is not like super where you don't need to be there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's again no straight one answer to it. It's more of it's your life. You have to manage it well, and then you have to get most out of it. Right? It's kind of an AI problem, right? You have to optimize.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of AI, someone has asked, what is Pranav it is, who has asked, what is the best time to go for a master's in any technical field? Is it right after the bachelor's without any gap or with some work experience of about 1 or 2 years?
Okay. See, I have an opinion. Again, need not be right opinion. It's my opinion. So if you are again, I have not done myself a master's in the technology, so may not even be the right person to answer it. But I'll give you my experience, and then also I'll tell you what I think, maybe making sense, right? So I myself did my MBA after 10 years of working experience, right? So I was in my job after 10 years. I wanted to learn a bit more of business because for me, I was not able to understand finance, corporate finance, and all of it. So I wanted to get another degree where I could learn some of that. Unfortunately, in engineering, as you may all know, in India, they don't teach anything from business, right? It's all just, pure play technology. So for me, that was very, very beneficial because when I went back to school after 10 years, first thing, it was a big, good change for me because, after 10 years, you do need a break, right? And that could be a good break. Second, you already have a lot of questions, when you spend 10 years in, job. You kind of want to understand a lot of things. You don't know how it works, why such and such things happen. So you have a lot of questions in your mind. And when you go there, you can probably find answers to some of it, right? And also you'll find that there is no answer to some of it. That way you kind of understand that there's no answer to everything, right? Sometimes you have to live with the fact that not everything will have an answer. Okay. So now that's my personal experience. For me, it helped because I was learning business and I had this 10 years of experience. And also, somewhere in the back of my brain, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I was an entrepreneur by nature. So that MBA was kind of very uh, uh, good fit for me. That's that stage. Now, if you ask me, masters of technology, right? See, there is no one answer to here. I'll tell you what usually people do. So most of the people pursue, I mean, they do engineering and they join campus. After a year, they find some university in MS or in US or UK or somewhere, Canada, Australia, and then they use this as a path to go abroad and find their dreams there. Yeah, is that the right choice? Probably yes, because there is an advantage to do MS early on, but because your non-professional commitments are less, right? So that way you're not yet married, you don't have kids, you don't have a big job to leave and all of that. So I think it's fairly easy decision to make right after college, after a year where you probably have accumulated a small money, or at least you have freedom to go. Uh, Makes sense, right? And early on you go, you enhance. Again, you may not learn a lot of things. See, okay, masters has two dimensions to it. One is learning, and another one is making career, right? So if you want to focus more on career making, it may help if you do it early on. Depending on which country you go, of course, whether you find a job after that, what time frame you're going, if it's recession, not recession, and all that. But learning probably is at its best if you go after a few years, because then what are the questions you have in your mind.
Right.
Right? So without that curiosity, if you go, it will become another engineering where you just study for the sake of exam and sake of your next campus selection or the internship or the job. I don't know
Right.
if I answered your question, but again, there's no right answer to this. It's a very personal choice, but depends.
Yeah.
What's your objective?
And I think you answered it when you mentioned people if they want to make careers or if they want to learn. So they can take
Again,
a
they
call.
can go hand in hand as well, right? They are not necessarily, mutually exclusive. They can also go hand in hand. But that's where it depends on one's objective. Do they want like best of both or focus on one thing versus another? So yeah, too many probabilities there, permutation and combinations.
Absolutely. So, it has been lovely talking to you, Madhu. And I would like to just take your time for one last question. So,
Please.
if you could give one piece of advice to people who are just starting their career or about to start their career, third, fourth year of their degree, what would that be? And that I'm talking about a career in data science, particularly data science and analytics. What would that be?
Yeah, difficult to give only one suggestion. Maybe I'll give two or three, and then pick which one suits you. Uh, Especially in data science, if you want to kind of build your career, first suggestion is get more practical. Come out of theory, get more practical, and solve business problems. You don't have to wait till business gives you that problem. Rather, you find out and find out the good solutions which AI can solve. Yeah. So that can really help you go faster in your career, get visibility, get the recognition and the reward, you know, uh, uh, that deserves. Yeah. So being practical and solving business problem is probably the first one. Second one, of course, you have to keep learning. There is no shortcut to it. Don't again get stuck with, hey, I know Python, I'm done with it. No, I don't think you need to get stuck with any technology. Technology has to change, and that's the way it's going to be. So keep yourself learning new things, keep yourself up to date, and that way you can do the first one, what I said, where you can,
Right.
be practical and solve business problem. Yeah. And the third one, again, this is not necessarily again, specific to only data science, but in generic, uh, fail fast, even in life, early career. Meaning, when I say fail fast, I don't mean to say you should fail. What I try to say is take some risk beginning of your career, uh, and sometimes two things will happen. One, you will succeed, which is good, right? Or you may fail. Failure actually at an early stage is a blessing because you have entire life to make sure you don't repeat that, or at least you correct it.
Right.
Yeah, because failure at an early stage is different from failure at a later stage. Yeah, early stage is always good. So try new things, try faster, fail fast, learn from it, or succeed, whichever way, whatever happens in that particular risk. Yeah, take risk. I mean, these are the three things. Take risk could also mean, find a business problem, solve it, go to your CEO and say, hey, I've solved this problem. Again, it's a bold move, but do it. At the max, what they will do, they will say, hey, no, this is not a good solution. That's all it can happen, nothing more. I don't think anybody would get fired by proposing a new solution. Even if they do, I'm sure you'll find another job with that exposure.
Absolutely, yes. All golden words, I must say, coming from you. It has been an enlightening talk, at least for me, and I'm sure our audience also has some valuable takeaways from this. Thank you so much, Madhu, for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your thoughts with us, and for responding to all of the questions I shot at you so gracefully.
Thank you very much, Akash. It's a pleasure always speaking to the young ones because it's always good to share our experience if it can be of some use. Right, of course, again, I keep saying don't follow anyone else because it's your path, it's your very individualistic journey, but always learn from others, get uh, kind of motivated from others, especially when, you know, uh, the time is not so right for you.
Absolutely, yes. I wish you a very happy weekend, Madhu. Have a relaxing weekend ahead, and wish to talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Akash. Wish you and all the audience a happy weekend as well.